Radhe Radhe everybody. I hope you're all well and I hope you're all studying the Gita. Today we will do a deep dive of 5th chapter, first and second shlokas. I'm going to be studying from Swami Ranganathananda commentary, and it so happens that we in a study group we are doing the second chapter, 40th verse. I'm sorry. So 40th verse brought some things around. Like I was compelled to refer to the 5th chapter because I could make some connections, and we are going to do the same thing here. Is to study 5th chapter first and second shlokas and go to the second chapter to make that connection. The first shloka in the 5th chapter is Arjuna Vacha Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna Punaryogam cha samshashi Yachreya Yetayorekam Tanme Bruhi Sunishitam Shamsasi. Renunciation of action, O Krishna, you commend, and again its performance. Which of these two is the better one? Do tell me this decisively. Now, Arjuna has a question because during the chapters until the 5th chapter, Bhagwan has been saying good things about karma yoga, that is to perform the action, and also has spoken about renunciation of action, is what Arjuna gets from it. And he says, which one is better? Just tell me one to follow. O Krishna, you have praised sannyasa or renunciation of karma, sannyasam karmanam Krishna. You have praised it in the 4th chapter. Punaryogam cha shamsasi. And you also praise karma yoga, doing of actions. Yat shreyaha yetayo ekam. Between the two, which one is more excellent? Tat me bruhi sunishchitam. Tell me that decisively, is Arjuna's question. And here I have highlighted Shankara's Kena Upanishad commentary that Swami Ranganathananda is referring here. Very often even the clearest teaching can confuse people. That is what often happens in all types of education. Adi Shankara says this, Ekasmad Guru Shunvatam Shishyanam Madhye. Among a number of students listening to a teacher in a class, Kaschit Yathavat Pratipadyate. Some students understand exactly what the teacher has said. Kaschit Ayathavat Pratipadyate. Some understand it wrongly. Kaschit Viparitam Pratipadyate. Some understand it just the opposite of what was said. Kaschit Na Pratipadyate iti. Some will not understand even a word. These are the 4 types of students every teacher has to confront with his or her work of education. So, in the case of Gita also, these doubts come in spite of using clearest language, and the whole Indian mind for the last 1000 years has been completely confused on various questions. The thought of the people took this turn: if I am to improve my mind, and if that is superior, I shall sit quiet and improve my mind. Why go about here and there working hard? And the whole nation became lazy, and the training of the mind also vanished. This wrong understanding of the philosophy has ruined the nation. After 4 years of exploding Vedantic thought bombs suited to the Western people in the USA, England, Swami Vivekananda returned to India in 1897, and in the very first public lecture on the soil of India in Ramnad, he summoned our nation to wake up and face the challenges of modern age. Lectures from Colombo to Almora, page 50, Complete Works of Swami Vivekananda, volume 3, pages 145 to 46. The longest night seems to be passing away. The sorest trouble seems to be coming to an end at last. The seeming corpse appears to be awaking. India, this motherland of ours, from her deep, long sleep. None can resist her anymore. Never is she going to sleep anymore. No outward powers can hold her back anymore, for the infinite giant is rising to her feet. We have to train the body and the senses and the mind. Then we become great workers. That is the education of the whole man, not merely the thinking aspect. In the absence of this, we become mere intellectuals. We even fail to train our emotional faculties in the direction of human concern, and human service. The whole body mind complex became the servant of the tiny ego with the individual, and we can trace this happening in our recent history. In this modern age, fortunately, we got teachers like Swami Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna. Shankaracharya taught us samadhi, but he also lived the most active life. We all forgot his active side and turned our attention to experience samadhi, which means in our case, deep sleep or laziness. For centuries together, our nation went to sleep. When I watch people working like digging the earth, I see them lifting the spade in half-sleep condition. Our people have yet to gain work efficiency and humanist concern. It was that half-sleepy India that Swami Vivekananda summoned to wake up and face the modern challenges by bursting Vedantic thought bombs suited to our nation. Now comes Sri Krishna's answer to this question, which has worried Arjuna and which has been nagging our whole nation. We have to clarify it once for all in this modern period. With this question, with everything that we know about the situation that Arjuna is in, my takeaway was that Arjuna is very clearly wanting Krishna to say that just renounce this and just go to forest, because that's what in the first chapter he wants to do, to go and meditate in the forest. So the question does come from not from a place of not from a place of what is real more. I mean, there is that inquisitiveness, but it comes from the enthusiasm to renounce action. And that's why this question becomes necessary for us, because it's not Arjuna actually, it is a question that we also get. Should I just leave everything, go to a forest and meditate? Is that solution to all of my problems? That's number one. Need to think of teachers like Adi Shankara, Swami Vivekananda, who lived in samadhi, still lived a life of action. So people who are extremely spiritual have always been led a very active life. They've always showed up to do what is supposed to be done by them. Ramana Maharishi never was seen in the ashram sitting idle for a minute. He always was feeding the animals around. He was knitting or writing or doing something or the other. Ramana Maharishi is considered a jnani who has renounced everything. Still, when it comes to answering people's question, even the darshan, he said that it was his duty. In his talks and in his books, we see that he thinks it's his duty to go sit in that cot that he used to sit, so that people came and sat next to him and just had his darshan, just sitting there. And he would say that Lord is coming in the form of all these people, and I definitely have to go see them. So sitting there, he actually gave them peaceful vibrations. His presence was completely steeped in peace, and everybody else could also consume it, as it were. And karma sannyasam meant by Krishna is to renounce action done without the selfless spirit. Kamya karma is to be renounced, not nishkamya karma. That is, nishkamya karma and karma yoga only means nishkamya karma. What is nishkamya karma? Is the karma done with the selfless spirit, or karma that is done with no attachments to its results, karma that is done in the form of a duty, that it has to be done and it is right in front of you and you are the one that is to be doing it, and there's nothing else to it. In my life, where do I feel enthusiasm to quit action? So this verse, I'm going to ask this question: where do I feel the feelings of not wanting to show up, not wanting to face the moment and rise up to the occasion? These are the moments that I need to identify and ask this question: what is the action needed from me, and how would I make it a selfless action, an action that will result to good to everybody, a speech or a word that is uttered that will not hurt anybody but would benefit everybody or give peace to others. These are the points to ponder, I wrote with this verse. And the second verse after that is Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Sanyasa Karma Yogascha Nishreyascha Karavubhau Tayostu karma sannyasat karma yogo vishishyate. Both renunciation and yoga of action lead to freedom. Of these, Yoga of action is superior to the renunciation of action. Here, Bhagavan only means renunciation in the way where a sannyasi has renounced everything in the world, worldly activities and relations. That will also lead to mukti. But this is why we have to take everything in context. For a sannyasi, fighting a war is not his karma. So he's not going to do that because he doesn't want to participate in the world in that way. But sannyasi also has his karma. Suppose somebody shows up in his cave or wherever he lives and asks a question. A person wants help. He is seeking a solution to a material problem and does not know his way, and he wants a spiritual solution to it. The sannyasi is required to give it because he's right there in front of this person who's ailing, who needs spiritual instructions from him. So a sannyasi always works too, but not in the way where world people in the world work. And that's what is said here, that even though sannyasis have left everything, yes, that's also going to lead to freedom. And there's a point there that sannyasis also work, and that's why we took the example of Swami Vivekananda and Adi Shankara and everybody. So that will also lead to mukti. But here Bhagavan says the yoga of action is superior to renunciation of action. In this moment of time, if you ask me which one is better, I would always say karma. Why? Because you are a warrior, you are a king, you are supposed to give your subjects a peaceful society that is ruled for the benefit of everybody. And that's exactly what Duryodhana is not able to give. And that's exactly why Yudhishthira needs to win this war, because people have to be peaceful. And in this context and in this place and time where Arjuna is, karma is the way for him to go. Not just karma, not just any karma. He's not going to say go fight alone. But that's why I have taken 242, 243 in context. The type of karma that is said to result in highest good for a soul is nishkamya karma. That is action that will result in good for all. So in 242, Bhagavan says, flowery speech is uttered by the unwise, taking pleasure in eulogizing words of Vedas. O Partha, saying there is nothing else. And he says, Nanyadasti vada. Some people take action and say, do these actions, it's good in that way. That's not the action I'm meaning. It's very clear that even in Vedas there are karma kanda, where you do actions that are going to give you specific results. Now, Putra Kameshti Yaga, for example, Dasharatha did it, and King Drupad did it. These people did it to get a son or get a legal heir for their kingdom. And these things are kamya karma. These are also karma actions, but they are taken with a specific result in mind. So one can ask, why were they there? Why did they do that if that is so much a no-no? This was also done in a selfless spirit, because the kingdom had to go to a legal hire, and the subjects will be orphaned, so to speak, if there is no king to take up and rule the kingdom. So it was also, many of these things have been done in relation to moksha only. That's why the 4 purusharthas is dharma, artha, kama and moksha, because artha, that is to seek wealth and fulfilling desires, were also done, but the ultimate goal there was moksha. That by doing all this you still pointed towards moksha or freedom. How is moksha ever attained? By sticking to dharma, which is the first purushartha. Here he says that's also one kind of karma, but that's not what I'm recommending. In 243 he says, full of desires, having heaven as their goal, they utter flowery words which promise birth as the reward of their actions, and prescribe specific actions for attainment of pleasure and lordship. So these people who come and say there's nothing else in this world, you just come here, do all these things, to attain certain specific things. In our context, in our modern times, we can say, just come here, earn money, enhance your life in various ways, which is the next one, bhogaishwarya prasaktanam taya apahrita chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhihi samadhau na vidiyate, which is bhoga and aishwarya, that is to enjoy all these pleasures around you, and aishwarya, and seek wealth. This is all there is. There's nothing else that needs to be done. This kind of karma is not what is meant. What karma needs to be done is the karma which will result in good for all, which is nishkamya karma also. Even if it is resulting in good for all, there needs to be a specific detachment towards the results, because good for all can also be a very relative term. For example, Duryodhan in his mind may think that his winning is going to do good for all, and that's definitely not the case. And that is why, even though my action should in all purposes should lead to good for all, it is always good to do what is right in front of me, what is in my path, what needs to be done with absolute sense of detachment, that I'm doing this, that has come up in front of me, this has to be done, and this is my duty, and whatever happens out of this is surrendered to God. And this way, if we do it in a very selfless and devoted manner, karma becomes karma yoga. Every action becomes karma yoga. And that is the takeaway that I had in these two verses. And I hope you enjoyed this deep dive. Before I close, I'll just read. This is a long purport. This is a very long purport which I had studied previously. I'm just going to read a few things that I enjoyed and I have highlighted. Here, engaging oneself in action, developing the spiritual awareness along with it is far superior. Vishishyate is more excellent. That is, one has to do the karma along with having a spiritual attitude towards it, like surrendering it to God. Sri Krishna says that 100 times more, because his teaching is essentially teaching of practical spirituality, spirituality in action. See the language, spirituality in action. Behind every action being spiritual. And that's why I said even the kamya karma, like Dasharatha's Putra Kameshi Yoga, is spiritual. It is not actually spiritual. The karma itself is actually kamya karma, but when it became nishkamya, is the reason or the motive or the sponsoring thought that needs to be done was more towards helping all his subjects rather than him having son. Yes, him having son is 25%, let's say. The most sponsoring thought is for his kingdom to be transferred to somebody who's capable of running it and keeping the people safe and peaceful. That was the sponsoring thought. That is what is called behind every action being spiritual. Looking at what can be done to make this beneficial to everybody. Even speech. And in this context, any saint or sannyasi is in can be thought of here, that we go to them with questions, right? We go to them for peace, we go to them for answers about pain and suffering. They're always available for us to help. They don't have to, they should be meditating that's what gives them maximum bliss. They should be meditating. They don't want to be engaged in any conversation. But you have seen that saints are always helpful. They want to see, they actually bleed when they see us suffering, and they say, oh, you are God himself, you're not, you're Ananda himself, you're bliss himself, you're bliss, you are bliss. You don't have to go looking for it. For that to happen, for us to realize ourselves as bliss, there's only one switch that needs to be turned off, that a saint does for us. So that is his karma. That is his karma yoga. He cannot run from it, and that's exactly what this verse gives us all. Any ignorant person works for flattening one's own life and career, but the intelligent person, the wise person, the enlightened person works for the good of all. Why don't you then be enlightened person? So even in the midst of all action, one can be enlightened. How? Is to show up and do what is in front of us with maximum sponsoring thoughts of good to everybody, rather than just bringing us peace and happiness just to us. And this is a wonderful commentary. In my channel, I've always spoken about this commentary. Good for like a reading, like it's also study material, but it's also good for just light reading, because it takes the form of a saint actually talking to you. That's a tone set in this commentary, which I really like. This is my current study, and I hope you're all studying the Gita, and you're all having a great week, great summer, great month. I'll meet you soon with more deep dives. Until then, Radhe Radhe.